Everyone, and welcome to another live edition of the Rural Juror Brewery Tour. I'm Seth. With me in spirit is Jay. Due to COVID, we can't really get together, so it's me again. But I have a really good thing that has come out of COVID. I've been actually exploring the back reaches of my beer and wine cellar. And so one of them that I found was this little beauty. And this is Fallow from Storm Stayed, and it's a barley wine. And it started getting me thinking, I've got a couple of these, and I do actually. I have two, one from Barncat and one from Storm Stayed. And I said, I'd like to know more about barley wines. So I started looking it up, and we're going to open these up and crack them open and drink them tonight. So the first thing you might be saying is barley wine. So what is a barley wine? Is that like half beer, half grapes or something like that? No, it's all grain. In fact, the name of it's kind of a bullshit name. They don't really know why it's called that. It dates back from the late 1800s. Some said that it's because of the taxation difference between beer and wine. I think that's wrong because wine would be taxed higher because of the higher alcohol. I don't agree with that. Another theory is that the sale of wine might be allowed, whereas beer might not. So, or at a higher idea, more aristocrat, that kind of idea. So it would be sort of more to the elite. I could maybe see something along those lines, but it's still just beer. The only difference really between this beer, barley wine, normal beer of the time, was that the regular beer was, and it's sometimes, not always, but in these two cases tonight, it's actually aged in red wine barrels. So it picks up another 1 or 2, maybe 3% alcohol, depending on all of that stuff. Probably 1 in the case of red wine barrels. So all of that kind of comes together and kind of gives you that idea that it is wine. It can be aged. It's usually darker in color, like a dark ruby red or a dark brown, higher in alcohol, usually aged. So I get the idea where it comes from, but it's still really not. No, it's still just beer. It's not like it's co-fermented with grapes or anything like that. The first one we're going to try is, like I said, it's from Barncat. It's called, Is Barley Wine Cool Yet? Well, this is cold, but we're going to find out if it's cool. We don't know yet. So this one comes in at 10.2%. And there's very, very little information on the can itself. And it is in a can. It does say that it's aged in red wine barrels. Other than that, there's pretty much no information at all. Lots and lots of fizz, lots of bubbles, 0 head, which is you would kind of expect. Wow, chocolate, caramel, bread, molasses. Wow, raisins. Wow, it's like a rum cake almost. And sometimes these have been they've been sort of more referred to almost like a brandy idea. So I can certainly see that. It is very dark brown. Very, very dark, very opaque. Can't see through it at all. At all. Wow. It's fairly still in the glass already, so there was just a little bit of fizz at the beginning. All right. A little bit thicker, viscous in the mouth. Certainly taste the alcohol, 10.2%. And it's got that sort of bite to it. That could just be the first sip, though. Lots of caramel, lots of bread. Oh, it's truly fruitcake without the fruit bits, which is always the worst part. Wow. That is quite a mouthful. Very complex flavors. Toffee, almost a molasses-like. It really actually tastes like raisins soaked in rum. It has that kind of quality to it. Because of the higher alcohol, it just kind of has that bite. Now, some barley wines actually have, the only addition other than grain would be some have molasses actually added to raise the sugar content, to get a higher alcohol. Some have raisins added as well. So we might be getting some of that in here. And yes, I know raisins are dried out grapes and blah, blah, blah. But it's a little bit different. So higher sugar, more, deeper flavor. It's amazing. The nose is very chocolate. Wow. Very, very nice. Interesting. Very interesting. Next up is Fallow, the barley wine by Storm Stayed. And this was aged in red wine barrels again. 10.2 again percent alcohol. This was bottled in 2020. I think the bottle says it was May of 2020. No indication on the Barncat can as to when it was poured or anything, or canned or anything like that. But the Storm Stayed, very flat coming out, no bubbles like the Barncat. Much lighter. It's hard to, you might be able to see it a little bit here. I'll turn it away from the labels. Much lighter in color. You can actually see light through it. Not a whole lot of light, but you can certainly see light through it. And you can kind of see it in the glass here. This is very chocolatey, very, very toffee-like, whereas this is a lot lighter. This has a lot more sweetness to the smell. Not a sweet chocolate, but a almost a buttery sweet. Very bready, very, very. It's a buttered bread. Dark bread. Yeah, very nice nose. Again, thicker mouthfeel. Smoother. Not as much of the alcohol bite on it. You're still getting the caramel. You're getting it. There's a real good creaminess to this one. Very smooth. I mean, there is the bitterness, but it's not as bitter as this one. This one is just a little bit more smooth. And typically there are two different types of barley wines. There's an American barley wine which is typically more hoppy, more aggressive, much more bitter, kind of like Americans, and then a darker brown. Then there is the English style that is less hoppy, and oddly enough, less bitter. Most Americans don't like bitter beer, and most and Europeans have bitters. So I found that a little bit odd that was a little bit reversed in barley wines, but So this one certainly you can smell a little bit of the hops, but again, when it's been aged and all that stuff, it's not the same kind of hop smell that you would think from an IPA or anything like that. It's very different. It's got a good sweetness on the side of the mouth, almost an acidity, like a cranberry juice or an apple juice or something like that along the sides. Toffee, but like that creamy toffee. Whereas this one, very chocolatey, very molassesy. And this one does just have a little bit more of that bitterness, but the bitterness is hid a little bit by the higher alcohol taste on this one. Same alcohol, 10.2. This one's just a little bit more smooth in the mouth. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed our look at barley wines. I hope you learned a little bit of something, and I hope you had a little bit of fun in these trying times that we're in. Make sure that you check out our website, ruraljurorBrewerytour.com. There's always new stuff there. Beer blog is there. All of our past episodes, our lives as well. Check out some new things that are coming down the pipe this spring, or I guess this summer now. There's going to be a new homebrew idea, a series that we're starting. There's also hopefully going to be a road trip, if we're allowed to do road trips. So thanks so much for watching. I've been Seth. Jay's here in spirit. Cheers.